Hello everyone. I would like to talk about very quickly of the importance of knowing nothing. In the mind of man, there are moments where he's conceiving his reality that there is emptiness. This emptiness is unspeakable, and so we will leave it without trying to term it. But we recognize that when we speak in any form of existential communication, there is movement. And so if there is movement, there is intention, there is direction, and so you are the shapes that inspire you. So the wonderful thing is that man's consciousness is developing, and in its development it is merging, it is blending, it is recognizing that the environment has a mind just as it does. And so conception and the plane of reality are holographic in one dimension, but very natural and real in another. And so when you are stuck in your sense of navigation between thoughts, the thoughts should in a sense come a bit out of focus, and you should become the wind between these structures. You should look at the roads ahead and in a sense try to navigate into a horizon that is not blinding you. It is very important that you open your eyes and you know where you are, because communication needs to be done with a complete compassionate allowance to get involved. So if in a sense you were present and your presence was a communication beyond your immediate linearity, but you just simply knew that a great moment could be conceived and you could see the visions of man evolve, would you be the trust in that unknown direction? Or would you simply see that reality requires you to shape some parts of it and in a sense move in a very unshaped way? Through every act that man has done, he has created his environment to mean more than it does. Because man is evolving, there's a sense of memory, and as collective consciousness looks at itself, there's a part of our silence that is always speaking. It is very important that you recognize that there's a sense of your existence that is nothing, because it cannot be shaped into linearity. It does not need to. It's as elegant as that moment where you saw someone understood, but regardless of what you said. It is that moment where you see that an animal smiles without a smile because it has just been fed. You look at reality and become gentle. You realize the space and time are as much of a real idea as your idea. And so you're conceiving it and you're observing it, and so you're present. But again, in how your ideology was given to you, you must go to those moments and in a sense take it away from the environment. Because if you are thinking that you're only understanding things one way, in other words, you're only one terminal, you will get confused in how this one terminal moves. Because when you move in space and time move with you. There's a conception, and in that conception there's a flow, and in that flow there is a direction that no man can ever know. Your psychology can backfire on you in certain states of contemplation. And what that means is that the way you feel things have made meaning for you suddenly changes, and you see it's as if the tunnel has gone to an dead end. And so what happens after you've walked it through so many thoughts, and now your inspiration has come to a dead end? What happens? Well, there's one thing happens. Many people let go of their inspiration and they're like, that's not me, I can't do it, it's not for me, they leave. And there are those who remain in that fire, who step on the coal and continue on, and they're like, a part of me knows that regardless of what I have been taught, what I have been said, this is where I must go. And so a home has never been so strongly longed for, because it's an existential home. It is a state of being that allows you to be present through any way that is to be conceived. You must not get stuck in a solidified sense of body, when this solidified sense of body is meant to be utilized through greater observances. If the mystic began to, in a sense, die, And so as his physicality began to learn from how ice evaporates in the sun, intelligence moves through different forms of conception, in the sense that when the instrument creates the music is the transcendence. So when you see that this individual physical mass is being moved by a self-aware being, by an existential collective movement, your vision sparks. In other words, you learn from your feelings as if they have just come and taken your greatest thoughts and brought them in front of you. Because this feeling is no normal feeling. It is that moment where you have really looked in your eyes and you have seen that the clarity is the emptiness. Because, let's say if there's a grocery store. When you go in the grocery store, you are in that world. You're in there. Do not ask if that is your reality or not. When you're in the grocery store, it is. You're there in a grocery store. And nothing else can make that wrong. You're present in a grocery store. But when you come outside, there's also the understanding that you never needed to be in that grocery store, or you never were in that grocery store, because now you're here. You know? In the sense that the moment is not segmented through its time and spatial dimension. If man was to look through the eyes of a soldier, but a soldier of life, as if that inspiration within the ape that told it seek more than the banana, you know, and you would see that the ape passed gently, because nature passed gently. We think we are in realities that are being torn apart. We think the apocalypses are coming. But once you look at your multidimensionality, there's nothing that needs to be moved from your table when you're not shaking. It's an important awareness to keep yourself where you are, in the sense that you're oriented with a sense of now. Because multidimensional navigation means that the human being, or that essence which has moved beyond the ape and is now moving beyond man, is engaging with its intelligence differently. So the self-communication between your individual senses of conception and your very collective and your very collective and integrated senses of being, you know, or states of being, that form of vision is a gift which only you can understand and open. The transcendence of your being, it comes from your natural innate preferences. So if you were a cosmic being, what would be the preferences of the cosmos for you to now manifest? The polarities that capture us behind our own bars are also found behind the bars of language. Because when we hear music, we realize that a part of us is feeling like it wants to move, but another part of us at the same time wonders, where am I moving to? And so the imagery, if it's not satisfactory, and the imagery usually isn't, you would see that a mystic is born within you. A man, or a sense of existence from man, begins to thrive. Your mind begins to move because your questions keep you up at night. I would like to very interestingly suggest, or since this is Mr.Within's view, on how man first observes image, then as he plays with this image by being this integrative and transcendent view, the image moves from terminology, language, and matures into emotion, and matures into its own depth. So thoughts actually transcend as well as man, because they have a sense of cyclical existence. It's as if the shape in your minds are as natural as the shapes outside of your mind. Or in a sense, what you conceive to be an external reality from your internal reality. Because man's internal dimensions can show him to, in a sense, never have been blind, or to be blind in infinite ways. So it is very important to be able to confront nothing, in the sense that seeing that there doesn't have to be a something. Similar to, you don't have to just get out of your chair and jump out of the window, for example, you know. You see that even if many people think of trying to jump out a window, you cannot, because the window does not have an opening like that. It is your psychology which is keeping you where you are, and so you need to reinterpret now. And in a sense see that the beauty and elegance of houses is that They keep you safe. Internally, they cage you. It is very important to see that you are working with yourself, and you need to be sincere with yourself. In other words, if you're terming your experience and trying to look like other men, it's kind of unnecessary. You simply need to just relax, sit down, and wonder about who you are. And if you were to be your most comfortable self, how would you be? How would you exist then? How would you be? And you would see that the most comfortable sense of a human being is one that is very comfortably aware of its surroundings. So increasing your awareness, or in a sense, cultivating self-awareness throughout the day, means that your moment is becoming elegant. It's becoming beautiful because you are looking at it. You're looking as the observer, not the object of observance, thinking that it's looking at another object. It's very important to get, in a sense, strengthen your mind. These are workouts for the mind. Mr. Within's workouts for alertness and attention, because your attention is kept by the imagery that is defining it. What am I paying attention to? Well, what you're looking at, so that means that's the only thing you're looking at. So if man, in his attempt through his individualized communication, is trying to understand collective forces that are keeping him there, the only way he can understand it is to dissolve, similar to how a character would dissolve in the story. For the storyteller has spoken with a different form of being and grace. You see, in ancient Persian culture, and in a sense I think also in Dervish, in the Sufi path and whatnot, I believe Rumi, once they asked them about Attar, this other poet, and Rumi said we're on the first street when he's been to the whole 7 cities of love. And what I really mean there is that back then they had this sense of a mystical opening, in the sense that their divine union was that they would go through cities. And so these cities were actually conceptions and states of being kept by different intelligences, because that's what you understand. When man sits down to meditate, if you're extremely sensitive, you see that you become a creator in the setting. Because sensitivity, that person who was compassionate, observant, became the complete knowing of the moment, in the sense that the Dalai Lama's wit was beyond any sense of agitation that didn't know where it was. You can see beauty once you see beauty within yourself. And so you see beauty doesn't have to be shaped, but it has to be flowing. It has to be pointing to a greater direction, in the sense that I am not ambitious enough when I really don't know who I am. You must know who you are, because then your ambitions will see you. It's as if your ambitions, your greatest ideas, your greatest deeds in this life are just waiting as energy. And they're like, does this guy know who he is? Does he know his potential? And and sometimes you forget. You're like, no, I don't know what I can do. I can't do anything. But when you know, when you get that authentic sense of knowing that it is my time to stand up, and you get off your seat in the way that you comfortably can, you comfortably know, and you realize that you're not in a hurry, because you are moving reality. Reality is not moving you. And so the eyes of man has blended, or have blended into a different hue. You cannot go avoiding the elegance of your design, because that is nature's movement. It is changing you, and in that change you are seeing the transition of form into the formless, and the known into the unknown, all being. Man is capable through his emptiness, and it is his choice to keep an illusion running when he always had the ability to walk differently, or walk in a different way. So know yourself in the sense that you are allowing yourself to be a point of new novel awareness, in the sense that you're just a very fresh guy. It's like as if you just feel fresh, you feel alert. Your room has meaning because you've looked at it before and you've been in it more times. You see that you might You might think you are naive, you might think that you have not gone to school, but the mind has a way of navigating and flowing. The intelligence of the stream is also present in how thought presents itself, in the randomity of all order. So you must know and trust how, in a sense, in an instant, if you really truly know life as life, existentially you're always allowed. Because how can you not be? Breathe with all existence. The time is now. You need to see more than yourself. You need to become selfless in your appreciation of all selves, of all individuality. Let everything be a teacher in the sense that the minute you can tune into that spectrum, you can see the other side. Man's mind is vast, and in that vastness he always finds. Now, what is going to happen to human psychology is that it's going to look at itself a couple times. And as it does, it's going to look at the new people and the new beings being born. So in other words, we have an updating of physicality and the type of beings being born and the intensity of consciousness. And we're also having an awareness of what all this means from a very outside perspective, in the sense that we are involved but not really there. So if I could explain this in a much more better way, in one case we have someone sitting in a jacuzzi and he feels the water completely. He's getting it, he's experiencing it, he's knowing it, and he knows he's not the jacuzzi, and he's not only that experience, right? And we have someone who hasn't been in the jacuzzi, but in a sense is saying that it's a jacuzzi. He knows, like, oh, it's a jacuzzi. I feel I've been to it, but I don't know it. So you see that you got to step into the jacuzzi again, in the sense that what you feel is your profound remembrance has only come to you now. So you utilize it to become a novel, let's say, soon to be memory. You can have the same tea in your last time, in the sense that those words never needed to be separate. You can see that all designs fade, integrate your knowing. Because it's very funny and it's very playful. It's like that moment where you are looking at a kid and just wonder that when you were a kid, how many people were looking at you like that, you know? And so it's a very interesting phenomenon, because we have so much to learn from the ability in which the present moment unlocks. Because many people think that how you know you're here present is based on the past. No, the past is present only through certain ranges of consideration. After a certain sense of awareness, you cannot even segment your mind like that. It's like thought that can't go that way. Many people think that because your physicality is being limited, that the sense of inspiration and energy and the type of consciousness in there is limited. First of all, consciousness does not have types, but there is a sense of existential attention or divine attention, as I've said, that is simply the flow that is you. So when a part of your dimension, when a plane of existence begins to, in a sense, be in turbulence, so in a sense, the pilot of consciousness has recognized one plane of reality conception is in turbulence because it in itself is trying to get out. And in a sense, it's not that it's trying to get out, it's that planes of existence are just like cocoons, in the sense that it's very unique and very, I guess, strange for mankind right now. The concept that is plane is also transcending into its own greater sense of direction. What that means is that not that just we are changing on this planet, it's just that the way the energies of the planet are being present are changing instantly. And so because the locality is not in a sense, location emanates from a sense of nothing, in a sense. So think of it as this way. The way we're usually checking out things is that we wake up in the morning, so we're like, okay, I'm conscious, I'm here, then I go into an unconscious, so, oh, that's the unknown, I don't know. Actually, now think of it after you've woken up, right? There's a sense of from nothing into a self-aware state. rather than from a self-aware state to nothing. So when you go from nothing to a self-aware state, you have peace, you have grace, you have compassion. You see that you will never know because there is a greatness beyond you. And so the plane of existence, in a sense, harmonizes when the confusion of the individuality is given a collective attention. So you will see how the greater pilots of consciousness are keeping the planes of reality present, is to providing their attention in a way which the whole plane utilizes. So what that means is that, for example, if let's say a businessman is looking for his buddy and he goes to his buddy's house and his son is there, right? He doesn't tell the son, hey son, can you tell exactly this outline of this business plan I have to your father verbatim, you know? He says, where's your dad? And then the son says there. So similarly, the pilot of consciousness doesn't say, where's the individual? He says, where's the plane? And so he thinks of, in a sense, giving a collective attention to the individualization of a dimension of a plane of existence. So that the potential is always there, because you see human beings have potential to know. So your potential is always infinite, but you're temporal, so it's your association with your temporalness. You're keeping the sense of temporal existence because man rides in greater lights, because the horsepower we think, or the horses that have carried our greatest carriages, are nothing compared to the bright wings of a form of Pegasus that is flying you into your collective knowing. And so this collective consciousness is a beautiful idea. And so it's as if the lotus is opening up and one guy's seen it. And this guy is not a guy. His name's Mr.Within, and he's this just sense of being. And so he doesn't like words that much, but he's present there. And in his stare, there is something that he sees. Because I have looked at myself in the mirror, and the unknown has looked at me. You must allow the imagery of culture and society to fluctuate and move towards an infinite change. So we do not just want, let's say, a certain amount of books. We want infinite projection of communication. So you need to understand that human beings need to be inspired for advanced communication. Enough is enough. What that means is we do not want to write self-help books. We want to enhance human experience. So if you who think you are an author who have helped many, right, just with your book, now is time to go do those workshops. Now is that time to go see people face to face and to be like life. I am not hiding. I am here to stay. And your intention of getting involved in the beauty of your life is simply the dawn of an eternity that is always led to rise. Because your problems, in a sense, are still there when it's important to see what nothing means. You're like, what is nothing? What is nothing? But once you see that state of being, let us say, that you are blessed with the chaotic touch, and you are simply reintroduced with the thumb of a guru to a different forehead of yours, you will see that in madness there was always the compassion for peace. That the most angriest human beings did not suffer, but would cry to see the change. That changed to see. And in nothing. in that sense of complete absorption into your moment, in the sense that the intensity of your experience is so vast that no idea can capture it, no image can stand in your emanation. Then you will see the wisdom in how nothing is important. Because in the emptiness that is keeping you here, you are always the love that carries on. Remind yourself and bring the most capable technologies to yourself. These require these include such as consciousness technologies, and also things that you read, go knowledge, introduce your mind to abstract imagery, and part of doing that is either you go and look at what artists have done, or the best way, go create and see what chaos means to your little self who hasn't done anything, in a sense, that part of you that feels, gosh, there's so much living to do and I'm not doing it, so give yourself that permission. See the elegance in your design, and with the love of the unknown, keep your knowing flowing on. Much blessings and namaste.